Edwin's mind was consumed with thoughts of Roman Dimitry, a figure whose existence seemed to transcend the realms of possibility. He found himself pondering a hypothetical scenario. If he could turn back time, could he have prevented Roman's relentless advance? However, Edwin quickly dismissed this notion as fanciful. His actions had led to the catastrophic downfall of the Hector kingdom, plunging it into an abyss of despair from which it seemed there was no escape. The weight of responsibility bore heavily on Edwin's shoulders as he contemplated the consequences of his decisions. The memory of Kellen's death haunted Edwin. Kellen had perished in Edwin's stead, a grim reminder of the toll his choices had exacted upon those he cared about. It was a stark realization that the kingdom now faced its darkest hour, a situation exacerbated by Edwin's own actions. Yet, amidst the despair, Edwin felt a flicker of determination. He knew he could not simply abandon his people to their fate. As Edwin grappled with his inner turmoil, he became acutely aware of the eyes that looked to him for guidance and salvation. The people of the Hector kingdom, in their hour of need, turned to Edwin as their beacon of hope. He could not bear to disappoint them, nor could he afford to succumb to despair. Suddenly, Edwin was roused from his thoughts by the sound of voices around him. Jackson and Butler stood before him, their expressions grave as they delivered news of the passing days. A week had slipped by since any word had been heard regarding the war, and the silence had only served to deepen the kingdom's sense of foreboding. The news from Cairo only added to their despair, with reports of the infamous Demon of Cairo wreaking havoc upon Hector soldiers and claiming the life of Night Order Captain Butler himself. It was a devastating blow, a reminder of the cruel realities of their world. The people of Hector, reeling from the news, began to question their place in a world teeming with unseen dangers. They felt like insignificant beings, mere frogs in a well, unaware of the monsters lurking beyond their limited perspective. It was a sobering realization, one that filled them with a sense of profound unease. Amidst the chaos, Edwin found himself standing before his father, the king of Hector, in the grand halls of the palace. The king expressed concern for Edwin's well-being, acknowledging the burden placed upon his son's shoulders. Yet, he reassured Edwin that he would not sacrifice his son's life to solve the kingdom's problems. Edwin, in turn, apologized for any distress he had caused and shared his concerns about the ominous omen spotted in one of the villages. As Edwin surveyed the once thriving land, now tainted by an ominous black hue, and witnessed life itself wilting away, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was the work of a malevolent force, a curse conjured by a necromancer. The gravity of his words struck the king with astonishment, prompting Edwin to delve deeper into his unsettling revelation. Edwin postulated that the recurring famines tormenting the Hector kingdom were not mere acts of nature, but rather a deliberate orchestration by a mysterious figure. This malevolent force, as Edwin described it, wielded dark magic capable of influencing and afflicting the entire kingdom for years. The king, grappling with the implications of Edwin's revelation, sought clarification on whether this force had manipulated Hector into launching an assault on Cairo. Edwin confirmed the king's suspicion, detailing how the hidden instigator deliberately fanned the flames of war between Hector and Cairo for personal gain. The revelation underscored the severity of the situation, leaving both Edwin and the king to confront the unsettling reality that their kingdom had become a pawn in a sinister game. The king, recognizing the complexity of dispelling a curse that had entrenched itself across the entire kingdom, noted that Hector would need the services of an archpriest, a resource they could no longer afford. Edwin, however, recalled a pivotal moment from his past. He recounted how, in his youth, the Tower Master of the Heavenly Palace had offered him a deal: relinquish his title as prince and join the Magic Tower in exchange for any desire. In a moment of revelation, Edwin discloses his intention to trade his time to serve the enigmatic Magic Tower of the Heavenly Palace. The king's reaction is one of astonishment, his brows furrowing in concern. With a demeanor of utmost seriousness, Edwin meets his father's gaze and explains that committing to this path for a duration of a year is the only viable solution to resolve the pressing issue faced by Hector. Edwin's commitment to finding a solution, even at the cost of personal sacrifice, reflected his unwavering dedication to the well-being of his people. Meanwhile, at the southern training camp, McBurney grappled with his own fate. Despite his desire to meet his end on the battlefield, the harsh reality of his lost arm cast a shadow of doubt on his prospects. It was in this contemplative moment that Roman, an unexpected figure, approached McBurney. Roman cut straight to the point, posing a proposition that could alter the course of McBurney's destiny: join Dimitry. McBurney, appreciative yet pragmatic, acknowledged his gratitude for the offer but couldn't overlook the physical hindrance of his missing arm. McBurney stood before Roman, his doubts weighing heavily upon him. As a man who had lost his arm, he couldn't shake the feeling of being a liability rather than an asset to Roman's cause. He voiced his concerns aloud, questioning what use he, a crippled swordsman, could possibly be to someone like Roman. There was a fear gnawing at him, a fear that he would only hold Roman back in their endeavors. To McBurney's surprise, Roman's response was not one of dismissal, but rather a knowing smile. He remarked that McBurney's words didn't sound like a rejection to him. Instead, they seemed to hint at an underlying willingness, a spark of potential that Roman was quick to recognize. It was then that Roman shared a tale from the annals of history, the story of the legendary left-handed swordsman named Song Baek. Despite once serving as a royal bodyguard, Song Baek's life took a drastic turn when he lost his right arm in service to his country during wartime. Despite being showered with wealth and honor by the imperial family, Song Baek found himself unable to adapt to a life of peace. Instead, he harbored a burning desire to die as a true martial artist, to meet his end on the battlefield rather than in the comforts of civilian life. Determined to honor his warrior spirit, Song Baek embarked on a rigorous journey of self-discovery. He spent years training with his remaining arm, mastering the art of left-handed swordsmanship through sheer determination and relentless practice. With time, he developed a unique fighting style characterized by his slanted body orientation and irregular attack patterns. What others perceived as weaknesses, Song Baek transformed into strengths, using his unorthodox techniques to overcome formidable opponents in countless duels. Despite his prowess, Song Baek's journey ultimately led him to a fateful encounter with another skilled swordsman named Baek Joong-Hyuk. In a climactic showdown, Song Baek met his end at the hands of his formidable adversary, fulfilling his lifelong quest to die as a martial artist on the battlefield. Roman's recounting of Song Baek's tale held a profound significance for McBurney. It served as a beacon of hope, a testament to the indomitable spirit of warriors who refused to surrender to their circumstances. Inspired by the story, Roman made McBurney an offer that would change the course of his destiny forever. With unwavering determination, Roman pledged to teach McBurney the art of left-handed swordsmanship. Moreover, he promised to utilize McBurney's skills and talents to their fullest potential, surpassing any expectations that McBurney might have harbored. It was a gesture of trust and camaraderie that resonated deeply with McBurney, filling him with a newfound sense of purpose and belonging. In that moment, McBurney felt a surge of hope coursing through his veins. He realized that Roman could be the salvation he had been seeking, the catalyst for his redemption as a warrior. Determined to prove his worth and reclaim his identity, McBurney bowed before Roman and swore his allegiance to him. Amidst a whirlwind of change, figures like Edwin Hector, McBurney, and the underestimated Henry Albert found themselves swept along. Henry couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the sheer presence of Sir Roman, a figure he had weathered hardships with. He wondered why Roman couldn't have taken him along for the journey. Upon returning to the Albert territory, Henry anticipated a life of adulation from the locals. However, his expectations were shattered when he realized they celebrated his return as a hero of Cairo, despite his negligible role in the war against Hector. Merely being in Roman's company during the conflict elevated Henry's status significantly. To Henry's astonishment, an invitation from the Cairo Royal Academy arrived, requesting him to lecture on his experiences at the southern front line. Viewing this as a chance to enhance his reputation, Henry eagerly accepted. He recognized that by praising Roman's virtues, he could boost his own standing among the nobility. As Henry embarked on his mission to spread Roman's renown, he found himself at a critical juncture in his seemingly insignificant noble life. Meanwhile, in Cairo's capital, Roman prepared to depart for Dimitry. A crowd gathered to bid him farewell, a testament to his burgeoning influence. Roman contemplated his next steps, knowing that upon his return to the capital, he would face pivotal decisions. Until then, he resolved to consolidate his power by pacifying the northeastern region, laying the groundwork for his eventual showdown with the central government. As Roman traversed through a forest en route to Dimitry, he stumbled upon a group of distressed farmers, their tear-streaked faces telling tales of ruined fields. Curious, Roman turned to Chris, seeking an explanation for their plight. Chris speculated that these individuals were likely farmers from the Dimitry territory. Roman questioned why they were in Conrad territory, prompting Chris to explain that Dimitry lacked sufficient cultivatable land, compelling some farmers to lease plots in Conrad territory. Learning this, Roman insisted on speaking with the farmers himself, eager to understand the details of their situation. As they approached, the farmers recounted a troubling ordeal, Despite having a 10-year lease agreement with the Conrad family, they were abruptly ordered to vacate the land just a week before the anticipated harvest. When they refused, Conrad agents destroyed their crops. The farmers pleaded their case to Roman, highlighting the injustice of being denied the opportunity to reap the fruits of their labor. Chris shares with Roman his understanding of the farmers' unfortunate situation, acknowledging its gravity. However, he gently underscores Roman's constrained role in offering direct assistance. Chris elaborates on the intricate dynamics, highlighting that the land leased by the farmers is under the ownership of the Conrad family. He emphasizes the potential ramifications, cautioning that any intervention could potentially exacerbate tensions between the two families, thus complicating matters further. Chris elaborates further, highlighting that the Conrad family has forged a crucial alliance with the nobles of the northeastern region. He describes this alliance as a collective effort, where several smaller groups have come together, resembling a protective fence. These groups, while individually not large, unite to shield each other from external threats. Chris draws a comparison, likening their collaboration to that of a bat, relying on mutual support for survival. Upon hearing this, Roman expresses concern, emphasizing to Chris that failure to take action could exacerbate the problem. Recognizing the need for action, Roman emphasized the importance of addressing the root cause of the issue before the Conrad family's power grew unchecked. Despite the risks involved, he was determined to confront the injustice and restore fairness to the farmers. As per the hierarchical structure, it falls upon the subordinate to abide by their superior's decisions. Therefore, Chris concurs with Roman. As they ventured into Dimitry territory, Chris fell into agreement with Roman's decision, recognizing the traditional obligation of subordinates to follow their lord's lead. Upon their arrival, Roman was greeted with fervent enthusiasm from the Dimitry people, who hailed him as the hero of Cairo and the pride of their land. Roman's father, Roman Dimitry, welcomed him with open arms, expressing his joy at seeing his son return. Roman, in turn, inquired about his father's well-being, prompting Romero to reassure him that all was well in Dimitry and that he had prepared a grand celebration to mark Roman's homecoming. However, before festivities could ensue, Roman requested a private audience with his father to address a pressing matter. They retreated to Roman Dimitri's office, where Roman broached the topic of the farmers in Conrad territory. Romero acknowledged his awareness of the situation but lamented the inevitability of the Conrad family reclaiming their land. He cautioned against interference, citing potential repercussions for the farmers' future prospects in Conrad territory. Roman, adopting a grave demeanor, posed a hypothetical scenario, questioning whether the outcome would differ if Dimitry were aligned with the influential Benedict family instead. He proposed that Marquis Benedict's formidable authority would serve as a deterrent against any encroachment on their land. With the recent decline of the Barco family, Roman asserted that Dimitry now stood as one of the strongest factions in the northeastern region. While acknowledging the validity of Roman's perspective, Romero urged caution, emphasizing the importance of maintaining harmonious relations with neighboring factions. He advised against needlessly provoking conflict with their allied forces, stressing the significance of avoiding unnecessary entanglements. Roman approached his father with a determined air, adamant that action was necessary. He argued that Dimitry held true power in the northeastern region, a fact overshadowed by the complacency and arrogance of the Conrad family and other nobles. To them, Dimitry was merely another family, lacking the protection of a formidable entity like the central government, as the Barco family once enjoyed. Consequently, the Conrad family's disregard for Dimitri's farmers was evident. With a furrowed brow, Roman pressed his father for his thoughts on this discrepancy. Despite the Conrad family's claims that Dimitry was the strongest in the region, their actions suggested otherwise. It was time, Roman asserted, for Dimitry to assert its dominance and prove to the Conrad family who truly held sway in the northeastern territories. Roman further elaborates to his father, emphasizing that Dimitry holds both the power and the moral justification to come to the aid of their citizens. He questions why Dimitry is standing idly by while the Conrad family tramples upon their people's rights. Roman passionately implores his father to grant him the authority to take action, assuring him that he is prepared to shoulder the burden. He pledges to be the one to execute any necessary measures, even if it means getting his hands stained with blood. Later that day, the scene transitions to Dimitry seated in his chair, deep in thought, pondering over Roman's words to Romero. He couldn't help but acknowledge Roman's growth, remembering the days when his son had toiled alongside him as a farmer. There was a soft spot in Romero's heart for Roman, born from their shared experiences. Perhaps, Romero mused, Roman's current demeanor was a response to being labeled a lesser noble. Deep in thought, Romero realized that what the Dimitry territory needed wasn't just power, but wise leadership decisions. Roman's impassioned plea signaled the dawn of a new era for Dimitry, one where the strength of character and strategic thinking would guide them forward. Days later, the Dimitry palace buzzed with activity as the family hosted a lavish party to welcome Roman back. Nobles from all corners of the northeastern region, including the esteemed Volt and Grizel families, gathered to pay their respects and offer congratulations. In the realm of nobility, acknowledgement of power often takes precedence over recognition of leadership. Such was the case in the northeastern region, where Dimitry's authority was disregarded by other noble families despite its undeniable influence. Amidst this dynamic, a chance encounter brought Lady Sophia of the Grizel family to Roman's attention. Recollecting their previous interaction, Roman recognized her, though he noticed a shift in Sophia's demeanor, suggesting she viewed him differently now. A notion that subtly lingered in her mind as she contemplated the prospect of marrying someone of Roman stature. The ambience altered once again as Viscount Conrad made his entrance, extending his respects to Roman, whom he hailed as the hero of Cairo. However, Roman's response to Conrad's greeting carried a weighty tone, as he introduced himself not just as Roman but as Roman Dimitry, a declaration infused with the pride and authority of his family name. Conrad, in turn, acknowledged Roman's impressive triumph over Butler, a renowned swordsman, expressing astonishment at Roman's youthfulness juxtaposed with his extraordinary achievements. He envisioned Roman's potential to ascend to even greater heights within the ranks of warriors, a sentiment echoed by many present. Yet, Roman's demeanor shifted subtly as he took control of the conversation, surprising Conrad with his perceptiveness, which defied the expectations typically associated with his humble origins. Conrad couldn't help but acknowledge Roman's acumen, recognizing the sharpness of his mind despite his commoner upbringing. He graciously encouraged Roman to pose any question he desired, unaware of the profound impact his response would have on the gathering. With unwavering resolve, Roman seized the opportunity to confront Conrad regarding his unilateral actions against the farmers of Dimitry, questioning the rationale behind the confiscation of their lands, a query that reverberated through the room, leaving those present stunned by its audacity. Conrad, caught off guard by Roman's boldness, attempted to justify his actions by citing the lucrative offer made by a merchant for the disputed lands. However, Roman's disappointment was palpable as he condemned Conrad's callous disregard for the livelihoods of the farmers, emphasizing the gravity of the situation amidst the festive atmosphere. As the tension lingered, Conrad sought to redirect the conversation, emphasizing his presence at the gathering to extend congratulations to Roman and partake in the festivities. Conrad, visibly perturbed, reminded Roman that the gathering was intended to celebrate his return, not to tarnish Conrad's reputation in front of their peers. Feeling slighted by Roman's actions, Conrad's facade of congeniality wavered, his smile replaced by a mask of discomfort. Conrad, eager to extricate himself from the situation, made a move to depart, only to be halted by Roman's firm command. Roman's tone left no room for negotiation as he cautioned Conrad against leaving abruptly, hinting at potential repercussions for Dimitry should Conrad choose to escalate the situation. With a commanding presence, Roman demanded Conrad's presence before him once more, unwilling to let the matter rest until it was addressed to his satisfaction.